Pawn to e4. Pawn to e5. Knight to f3. Knight to c6. Bishop to b5, Ruy Lopez. Knight to f6, Berlin defense. Pawn to d3. Knight to e7, the first surprise. Lichess calls this the Mortimer variation. This move follows Philidor's principle. The pieces behind the pawns. The knight gets out of the way of the c-pawn, supports the c6-d5 break, and can later relocate to g6. On the other hand, the knight temporarily blocks the f8 bishop and black has to be careful with the f7 pawn, because it is only defended by the king and right now no other piece can defend it. Bishop to c4. The bishop defends himself from the c6 threat and at the same time attacks the f7 pawn. Pawn to c6. The e5 pawn is tactically protected. Pawn to a4. Pawn to d6. Move 6 and we reach a brand new position. There are no games from here in the Lichess Masters database. Pawn to c3, opening a window for the queen. Knight to g6. Queen to b3. White keeps attacking f7. Black has only one move. Pause the video and find the right move. Tic-tac tic-tac. I hope you found it. Pawn to d5, protecting f7 by cutting off the diagonal. Pawn to d5. Black to play. What to move? If pawn to b5, a brilliant move, taking advantage of the bishop's lack of space. Pawn to b7, a great move, forking rook and bishop. Pawn to d3 with equality. Knight to d5 was played in the game. King to g1. Bishop to e7. It was more precise to move the bishop to d6 and protect e5. With this move, black tells white that she is ready to sacrifice the e5 pawn. Rook to e1. King to g8. White to play. What to move? If bishop to d5. Always grab the free pawn. Threatening checkmate on the first rank. Black is 2 pawns down but has an active position as compensation. Knight to d2 was played in the game. Taking on e5 or d5 was also possible. White prefers to develop and keep the tension. Queen to c7. The queen defends e5 but leaves the protection of d5. White to play. What to move? If bishop to d5, a obvious move. Developing with tempo. White will get the piece back using the pin on the e-file. And black has compensation for the 2 pawns. Pawn to d4, a great move, was played in the game. Pawn to d4. Knight to d4. Knight to b6, disarming the queen-bishop battery. Bishop to f1. Bishop to d6. Pawn to g3. This move protects white from the queen-bishop battery, prepares the fianchetto, and controls the jumps of the g6 horse. Knight to d7. Queen to c2. Knight to e5, luring white to play f4 and weaken the kingside. Stockfish doesn't like this move and prefers to have the knight on f6. It seems the centralized knight doesn't have a stable square, and gives white tempos to organize her forces. Bishop to g2. Pawn to a6. Pawn to f4. Knight to g4. Knight to e4. Pawn to c5. White to play. What to move? If knight to d6, the best defense is the attack. And white has a slight advantage. Knight to f3 was played in the game. Bishop to f5. Knight to f6. You are not attacking me, I'm attacking you, says white's queen to the f5 bishop. Knight to f6. Queen to f5. Rook to e8. Bishop to d2. Connecting the rooks. White has the bishop pair. But the position is still not open enough. The dark square's bishop is restricted inside the pawn chain. Knight to e7. Queen to c2. Pawn to c4, fixing white's b2 and c3 pawns. Pawn to h3, a defensive move, removing the g4 square from the f6 knight. Knight to c6, the knight has set his sights on the b3 hole. King to h2, getting out of the dangerous dark square's diagonal. The king also helps to defend his castle. Bishop to c5. Knight to g5. Pawn to h6. Knight to e4. The knight hits and run, forcing some exchanges. Knight to e4. Bishop to e4. Knight to a5. Rook to e2, planning to double rooks. Knight to b3. Rook to e1. Rook to d8. Bishop to c1. Pawn to b6, clearing the h1a8 a diagonal. Bishop to g2. Queen to d7. It seems black is winning the a4 pawn. White to play. Pause the video and find the best move. Tic-tac tic-tac. I hope you found it. Pawn to f5, a great move. Who solves all the problems? Freya the f-pawn. White unleashes the c1 dragon and is threatening to hit black's kingside with f6. Black to play. What to move? If queen to a4, taking the free pawn is possible, but is dangerous to voluntarily moves the queen out of the game. Bishop to h6, a brilliant move, opening the kingside. The queen quickly comes back to defend Tiarhao the second rank. Queen to b3 with equality. Queen to d3 was played in the game. Bishop to e4. Queen to c2. Bishop to c2. Knight to c1, taking away white's bishop pair. Rook to c1. Rook to e8, and a draw is agreed. A very precise game by both players. Black started with a Berlin against the Ruy Lopez, but surprised her opponent moving the knight backwards to e7 on move 4. This sideline has the drawback that leaves f7 momentarily weak. White quickly created a queen-bishop battery pointing to f7. Black defended by blocking with the d-pawn and then sacrificed a pawn to keep her king safe and to gain tempos to activate her pieces. However, white didn't accept the challenge and played a more solid developing move. Then black disarmed white's queen-bishop battery and managed to create an outpost on b3 for her knight. After some simplifications, a draw was agreed.